Hello, everyone. I'm Matt Clark, research analyst with Money and Markets here. And as I do each and every week, I get to sit down with Charles Sizemore in whatever location he happens to be at this point in time. It could be South America. It could be Texas. It could be a foreign land, a country that you've never even heard of before. It doesn't matter. He's a world traveler. It's what he does. But I get to bring in Charles Sizemore, and we're going to talk investing with Charles. And this week, Charles, really interesting. And the reason why I want to bring this topic to you is because of your background. You've got a very strong economist background. And I think this is something that is interesting. Plus, it tackles a subject that we've been talking about a lot here on our YouTube channels, and that is crypto. And so what I'm bringing to the table here is today, which is when we're recording this, there is now one country in the world that is allowing cryptocurrency as a legal tender, and that is El Salvador. This is a Central American country. They have become the first sovereign nation to make Bitcoin a legal tender. Basically, what this means is that just like the dollar or the peso or the euro or anything like that, Bitcoin, it can now be used to pay for anything you want in El Salvador. If you're going to get,
and must be accepted as well.
Yes,
like
and must be accepted.
Like you have to accept it as well.
It has to be accepted. So if you're going to go and get gas in your car, or if you're going to go and buy a house, pay taxes, anything like that, now in El Salvador, you can use Bitcoin. And, this is something that has been kind of kicking around. There's been other countries that have talked about this, but El Salvador has now come to the forefront and become the nation where it is the first nation where it is now legal. And there's several reasons why this is being done. But I want to first, and before we get into that, I want to first kind of get your take on this. Is this a good thing for Bitcoin? And even more specifically, is this a good thing for Bitcoin investors here in the United States?
Well, before I get to that, let's go into some of the background here. You don't normally think of Central America as being like this, hotbed of financial innovation, but in a lot of ways it actually is. By virtue of being small and not having a lot of economic heft, these countries in the region have always had unstable currencies. This led a couple of them to actually just give up on managing their currency altogether and just dollarizing, just using the US dollar. Now, of course, that does bring stability, but that also brings another host of problems, being that your monetary policy is no longer yours to control. You can't, what does Jerome Powell do? Jerome Powell sets interest rates in such a way to benefit the US economy. He has a dual mandate of maximum employment and minimum inflation in the United States of America. He does not care about El Salvador or Ecuador or Panama or any number of other countries that have flirted with using the US dollar as a currency. El Salvadorian unemployment is not important to him. That's not a factor he considers. If it is important to him, it's certainly not part of his job description. So when you're a country that uses a foreign country's currency as your legal tender, you are surrendering that power to another country. So that it solves the immediate problem, which is currency instability, which is a big deal. I'm in Peru at the moment, which is obviously further south than Central America, but I know a thing or two about currency instability. The Peruvian sol, which is the currency here, was 3 to the dollar right before COVID hit, and now it's about 4 to the dollar. So it has depreciated a lot. That's not such a bad thing for me because my dollar goes a lot further here at the moment, but that is bad for the stability of this country, for example. So, okay, understood why they would not want to manage their own currency. Got that down. Why Bitcoin? Well, and what potential problems does that create? Well, Bitcoin does, of course, take care of the liquidity issue of a small currency. I remember on a random tangent here, a few years ago, well, more than a few years ago, time has gone by, 2006, 2007, I was in Iceland, which is obviously the other side of the world, a developed country, European country, but similar dynamics. And it's a very small country with a very small currency. And because a lot of international speculators had gotten into that market to take advantage of high interest rates, the currency had gotten absurdly expensive. To buy a Subway sandwich, just a little 6-inch Subway sandwich, it was $16. not including a drink or chips or anything else, just a sandwich, was $16. And this was not fancy. I mean, when I say Subway, I mean literally mean Subway brand, like the Subway franchise. So that's obviously very destabilizing. So these small countries all around the world have this issue. Using something else makes sense. The problem with Bitcoin, of course, is that Bitcoin is also wildly unstable. Its price is known to vary a lot from day to day. So that does make this an interesting proposition. I don't know how well this is going to work out for El Salvador. They are going to have issues on the ground. I mean, this would be difficult to manage for a really sophisticated financial system. This would be hard for the Swiss to manage, for crying out loud, for a developing country to, imagine a local gas station owner trying to figure out, okay, this is the price in dollars. Oh, let me check the internet. Oh, this is the price in Bitcoin right now. But if you ask me in 5 minutes, maybe a different price. So you better hurry up and pump your gas now. And then how would you hedge against that? Yes, there are Bitcoin futures, but it's not like the average person on the street is going to have the ability to hedge this in the futures market. So this is going to be an interesting experiment. We'll see how this goes. But to answer your original question, I do think this is a big deal, not just for Bitcoin, but for cryptocurrencies in general, because this does show that the asset is maturing. This is now something that a sovereign nation has chosen to use as a legal tender. That is a major step forward. It does give it major credibility. The question is, what's the next step? Is it more Bitcoin for more countries, or is it a new cryptocurrency? We were talking offline. What if neighboring Honduras or Guatemala wants to do the same thing? Are they going to just use Bitcoin, or are they going to have Wall Street or someone design a crypto for them, like basically a crypto that's kind of their own? That remains to be seen.
The thing here I think about is that, yes, I agree that this is good news now for Bitcoin investors and things like that. But if this project in El Salvador ultimately fails, whether its adoption is not doesn't come as quickly as it should, or it just doesn't work out, and I'm going to point out some reasons why there's some pitfalls here. Then I think that's going to be a big dent to Bitcoin, that credibility that you talk about. But you have to consider a couple of things. I read a couple of these things here. First off, a majority of El Salvadorians do not have bank accounts, which is why crypto is advantageous there. We talk about what crypto is. Crypto is blockchain technology. Blockchain tracks transactions point to point to point to point to point with accuracy, and there's no need for it's decentralized. Banks are not involved in it hardly at all. Now, the other thing is that when you look at the GDP, the gross domestic product of El Salvador, and I don't want to get too deep in the weeds here, but from what I understand, about a quarter to a third of El Salvador's GDP is reliant on remittances. And what this is, for those who don't know, is remittances are basically when you're in one country, working in one country, but your family's in another, you are sending them money back. So let's say, for example, if I have my family in Switzerland, I work here in the United States. For some reason, the franc and the Swissy and the dollar are so incompatible that it makes more sense for me to send dollars to them, which it doesn't. Then I send money to them, but because it's dollar to the El Salvadorian currency, there's issues there. Well, with Bitcoin, that eliminates those completely. Now it's Bitcoin transfer. It's very seamless. It's point to point, and there's no problem.
It's also potentially much cheaper. Wiring money overseas is expensive. They take a haircut, and particularly if you don't even have your own bank account, if you're having to use something like Western Union, like one of those services, that's even more expensive than normal wiring, and normal wiring is an absolute ripoff.
And then I look at it because I come at it from more of a political angle than I do an economical one. And if you look at the El Salvador, they have a very populist president who has been in office now for I really don't know, but he's got about a 90. It's I believe it's Nayib Bukele is the president of El Salvador. He's about our age. He's in his 40s, very popular. He's got an approval rating of about 90%. So politically, when you have a popularity rating that high, it gives you kind of a mandate to do about whatever you want, because your Congress can't really argue with you because you're so popular with the people. They threaten, they risk losing their own support in their own district. So Bukele has decided to do this, and one reason is it could be because there are some authoritarian issues in El Salvador. Now, I'm not really full up on the geopolitics of El Salvador, but there are some authoritarian tactics that he is using to kind of hold on to control of the country. I'm not saying it's good or bad or otherwise, because I just don't know. But this could be one of those kind of a PR play to shift the attention away from what's going on in El Salvador on the ground to this shiny new puppy Bitcoin type of thing. I don't know. One thing to other.
I believe the shiny new puppy is actually Dogecoin or Dogecoin or however you say that. It's the actual doggy-faced coin.
In theory. And the other thing to consider here, switching back to more of an economic look, and that is the International Monetary Fund has now taken El Salvador's debt, which I'm really not sure exactly how much it is, and downgraded that debt into junk territory. They now feel that there is a lot of risk to El Salvador's debt. So adding in crypto has the potential to make that debt even worse. So again, I think in the interim, I think it's nice. There's good headlines around it. There's positive about it. It's going to be a nice boost if you're invested in crypto across the board, because as we've talked about here on YouTube, cryptocurrencies tend to move in tandem. And a lot of that reason is because we just don't understand the differences between the two. If you look at Bitcoin and Ether, they move about the same. They're not the same at all. Bitcoin and Ethereum are completely different. Dogecoin, Cardano, they're all very
Litecoin,
different.
whatever. Yeah,
Litecoin, they're all very different cryptos, but they all move in kind of lockstep together. Not entirely, but for the most part.
So asset classes do that, though. I mean, stocks, in a typical day when 80% of stocks are going to move the same direction.
Yeah, when FANG stocks are up, tech is up. The broader, smaller unknown tech stocks are moving up along with it. It's not because they did anything special. It's just because, FANG stocks are up. But I think, I'm not saying this is bad or this is good. I think there are some things that you really need to watch for if you're going to use this as a catalyst to buy into Bitcoin or crypto. Because here's the other thing, and I want to ask you this. Will this, I take this from a marijuana take because I do the marijuana market update, and we see that when one state adopts legalization, medical or adult use or both, then you start seeing an influx of states that surround it do the same thing because they don't want to miss out on that tax revenue. I'm wondering, are we going to see the same thing, taxes aside because it doesn't count, the same thing here with Bitcoin? Are we going to see Costa Rica, Panama, Nicaragua? Are we going to see some of these other Central American countries and even farther south into Peru, Colombia? Are we going to start seeing them take a harder look at adopting Bitcoin or cryptocurrency?
They already are. The fact is, every country in the world is looking at this. Our own Federal Reserve is looking at it. No one else has taken that step forward yet because it is a big step into the unknown. It's unclear whether the existing infrastructure is really strong enough to handle it. When you're talking about a country as small, I mean, there's more people that live in Dallas, Texas, than in the entire country of El Salvador. So if you are going to experiment, it's better to experiment in a smaller country like that. See if the infrastructure can handle it. See how this works. But you can bet all of their neighbors and really, again, every country in the world is going to watch this. It's going to learn from it, and I think this is a worthwhile experiment because everybody knows that crypto is going to be around in some form or another. Is it Bitcoin? Is it Ethereum? Is it some new crypto we don't even know yet? Is it a mixture of all the above? I don't know. What does it look like? I mean, it's still evolving, but crypto and the blockchain technology that drives it, that looks like it's here to stay. And so this is an important kind of experimental step in seeing how this works. If it succeeds, great. We learn lessons from that. If it fails, that's also great. We can learn lessons from that as well and see, how to do it better next time. So I think it's, this is a step into the great unknown, and it's actually pretty exciting to watch. And
one other thing, I'll switch it back after this, is that I just looked at this. Bitcoin's price is right around between 48,000 and 50,000 per coin. The average national gross income per capita in El Salvador is around $4,000 US. So as of right now, today, the yearly per capita gross income in El Salvador is not enough to buy a tenth of one Bitcoin. I just want to throw it out there. I don't know what it means. I don't know that it necessarily is good or bad. It's just something that you have to.
You probably saw the news as well that to launch this whole thing, El Salvador bought 200 Bitcoin. Like that. That's it. Like that's all they bought. I mean, you can of course fractionalize it and divide it into infinitely small subsets, but still, I mean, 200 was all they started with.
And, so that's something to think about. And the other thing is that Bitcoin is limited in the amount that is mined. After I can't remember the number off the top of my head, but after that limit is reached, that's it. There is no more. With the US dollar, with the peso, with the sol, with the Swissy, with the pound, with the euro, reserves, central banks can print as much as they want. And in some cases do. Whereas with Bitcoin,
in some cases,
that's it.
Every day,
in every case, it happens. And I'm just wondering how this kind of works in parallel with, and this is a little bit different scope here, but China is experimenting with a digital, kind of a crypto version of the yuan, which is their hard currency. And this is something that has been talked about in terms of, central banks creating their own digital currency to offset the potential for crypto. I don't know how that plays. I don't know. And I honestly don't know where El Salvador Central Bank fits into all this either, because I haven't seen anything from them outside of the purchase of, like you said, 200 Bitcoin to start this process. So, so give me a parting shot here. What do you see as being next? Is it, maybe let me simplify this. Is this going to be successful in El Salvador? I'm gonna put you on the spot.
Well, how do you measure success on this? Is success the avoidance of a major financial crisis? If success is simply the avoidance of major financial crisis, then I would say, sure, I think this ends up being successful.
Does this wind up being as widely adopted though?
That remains to be seen. My best guess on this is that they probably don't get it right the first time. It's probably messy. It's imperfect, but we watch what they do, and in iteration 2.0 or 3.0, whatever country is implementing at that time, they likely get it right or get it awfully close to right. I might also add, there is no right. The gold standard was very flawed, which is why we got off of it. The Bretton Woods standard was also very flawed. The current standard of just floating exchange rates everywhere is also flawed. There is no El Dorado here. I mean, there is no utopia. Like every financial system that's ever, the Native Americans trading wampum with each other, that was flawed. I mean, there is no perfect financial system. Bitcoin is not perfect and will not be perfect. What remains to be seen is it better than what we have now, or can it be made to be better than what we have now? And I'm pretty excited to find out, actually.
Yeah, I think it's certainly something that whether you're an investor or not, whether you are a new investor or an experienced investor, I think it's something that you're going to keep your eye on over the next 6, 9, 12 months to see exactly how this adoption works out in El Salvador. Charles, I want to thank you for your time. Appreciate that. Again, if you're new to YouTube, make sure you are subscribed to our channel. Just make sure you mash that subscribe button, click that notification bell as well, and you get notified each and every time we put out a new video. We have a ton of them. We put out new videos each and every week. Don't forget, we have a paid membership program here on YouTube as well. We give you right now insight into the cannabis market on that paid membership program. We are looking at expanding that, by the way, into other sectors that we could provide as well. So if you want more information, click join on our YouTube homepage, and you can find out what all is available through there. So Charles, Green Zone Fortunes co-editor Charles Sizemore. For him, I am money markets research analyst Matt Clark. Until next time, everyone, safe trading.